Good morning guys, Will Mosley here, and today we're doing a versus between a stabilizer, a traditional stabilizer, and a phone gimbal, the DJI Osmo Mobile 3 that just recently came out. They're both fairly inexpensive, but what should you really get? To start with, the DJI Osmo Mobile 3 is super compact comparatively to a traditional stabilizer. It's a little bit awkward to bend and stuff like that, but you can throw it up and down. You're not going to be worrying too much about the weight of it in your bag. And it also has these really cool buttons that you can use to control it, record, all that type of stuff. The downside to this is it only fits your phone. So, you know, if you have a really big phone, you got to take the case off. And also you can't put your DSLR camera on the stabilizer. It does have a tripod mount, so you can put it on a tripod, and it does have this trigger here to help control focus. I'll go over that in just a second. A traditional stabilizer is a little different. This thing is long, it feels nice in your hands, but you have to counterweight it, and it takes a lot of time to adjust these guys over and over and over again and get your camera balanced just right. It's definitely a science. You got this trigger which pulls it up, pulls it down. You have a quick release plate where you can take the camera on and off, but this also is a pain because you have to get it right every single time. If you look at these notches right here, you have to get this lined up perfectly, and you can, but every time you take the camera off, you're risking having to rebalance. So the reason why I decided to do this kind of comparison today is because I bought both of these items thinking that I needed them to get really nice, smooth following shots. And that's true. Woo. I just broke that on my case. You see that? Ooh. One of the reasons why it's a pain and hassle to take this off. So with the DJI Osmo Mobile 3, you double tap this twice and hold it for it to come on. Usually I put the phone in first, but it's okay if you haven't. Just be careful, especially if your phone is expensive. There's a red thing that says, hey, put the camera this way, so follow that direction. It's important because when it's turning around, it can get in the way of the gimbal. So that's kind of it, just balancing up right now. I haven't opened the app. To pretty much get the gimbal to pair, even if you've connected it to another phone, you pretty much just hold down these two buttons and the back trigger, and it'll go ahead and repair. All right, so in our app, we're gonna click on the DJI Mimo app. Sure, allow. We're going to click on the camera button. I need to enable Bluetooth, so go ahead and enable that. It's me searching, and as long as this is on and I've kind of pressed those three buttons, it should detect it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. There it is, it does see it. I'm going to press connect, pair. And you don't have to do this every single time, just if you swapped phones. So there are a couple of settings right here. So I press this back button to kind of center it or reset the position, and then I press this button to rotate. So press, 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 and that's pretty much it. So all in all, that took about maybe a minute, 2 minutes, possibly 3 minutes to kind of get this thing set up. And that's all you have to do. I'm gonna go ahead and record some simple gimbal footage of this right here, and then I'm gonna do the same with the stabilizer. And we'll talk for just a moment about which one you might wanna get if you are thinking about getting a gimbal. All right, for a stabilizer, it's going to be a much different process. So one, you need a DSLR camera, at least for this stabilizer. And so I'm going to go ahead and remove the base from this camera. I'm going to keep the 10 to 18 mil on the camera. Next, for the stabilizer itself, I'm going to need pretty much something to unscrew it, a flathead. So this base comes off. Try not to scratch the band. So that comes off right there. We're gonna screw that into our camera. I usually try to get to 0. The bad part about this is that it does block the camera or the battery port. So every time you have to change a battery, you have to take this off again and rebalance it, which is a no-go. So pretty much just going to try to center it up right here. Flathead. Don't tighten it too tight because you will be taking it off and on. Try to make sure it's like flush. Keep our screen inside. Next, you have our stabilizer. The stabilizer has this little notch right here that's going to line up with these. So make sure you put it on the right side. So I'm just going to put it at 0. Hopefully I get it right the first time. Okay, and usually if your lenses are about the same weight, you can get away with like one of each of these. These might even be too heavy for this stabilizer. So what we're looking for with this is, one, it's leaning way too much to the front. So we're going to back her up. Leaning way too much to the back. That's about center as far as like back and forth. Then we're going to pull this guy. This helps with stabilization too. So what we're looking for is when this drops, it takes a second to drop. And that's way too fast right there. It takes about 1 to 2 seconds. So I have the wrong weights on here. There should be smaller weights, so I gotta go get those. All right, these are the weights I needed. 2 small ones instead of the 2 big ones. This is what I'm talking about. You gotta, sometimes your lens is right, and it takes a lot of time to set up. When you get it right, it's good, but it's also one of those things, it's how much are you going to do this that you want to think about as you're maybe thinking about investing in like a glide cam or a steady cam or a traditional stabilizer. Because it does indeed give you smooth footage, and you can tell the difference, but my philosophy is always, how fast can I do it without bringing that much attention to myself? How can I just get it done, get it out the way, and at the best quality? And bring a huge stabilizer, of course, attracts a lot of attention. And also, when it takes a lot of time to set up, it's taking away from time where you could have been getting those shots. And you also have to think about how many shots are you really going to get with this guy. It makes a lot of sense if you're doing, like, say, a wedding, you're following someone all day. But if it's your day-to-day life, even with the DJI Osmo gimbal, like, how much are you actually going to use it? Okay, so we got our small counterweights on. So this should drop. It's dropping slower, which is good. Our camera is still unbalanced. It's still a little top heavy. So we're gonna adjust that to go forward. She's leaning a little bit this way, so we have another little thing that we can adjust back here that we're gonna pull down and adjust. Okay, so I'll pull back just a smidge. So I ended up at 2. If you look at the measure, you can see the measure right there, and it'll say 2 or whatever you're lined up, so you can remember that if your base doesn't change places on your camera, so it's easier for you to set up next time. This is pretty good. Not the absolute best, could be better, but for this case, this use case, it will do for our example. So I'm at the 10 mil, so I'm getting much wider than I would get on the iPhone. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just pretty much do the same shots and see what I come up with. So this is kind of, this is a little wobbly right now. I need to, too fast, so I need to actually pull this up. We find it's too wobbly, then it's probably that you need to do that. So that's a much slower of a drop, meaning that it won't turn as fast. All right, let's try this again. I'm gonna turn the stabilizer switch off on my camera, my lens as well. All right, here we go. Whoop. So I want to this is me running as fast as I can. All right, that wraps today's versus between a phone gimbal and a stabilizer. I'm gonna leave it to you to decide which is best for you, if any. This is 125, I believe. I got this off Amazon for 60, though they go up to like 300. And if you wanted a actual gimbal for your DSLR, it's probably gonna cost upwards of $300 to $400. So that is something to think about. The main thing I want to leave you with is, when are you really going to use these, if it makes sense for what you're doing. If you're going to be following people all day long and that's just part of your job, I think either one of these will be great, you know, just depending on your budget, what you want to do. But if you're finding yourself, you're running and gunning and doing all this stuff and just kind of jumping in the car back and forth, these take way too long to set up. All right, catch you on the next one. Bye.